Intimacy doesn't always mean close bodily contact. It could be a simple exchange of furtive glances or gentle words. Intimacy with the other. Sharing similar kinds of sensibilities together can make one feel intimate with the other. Word intimate connotes coming together of two separates in a way that creates possibilities of myriads of emotions: pleasure, happiness, elation, sense of comfort, sense of certainty. In such togetherness, the two need not be equal. Sometimes a tiny human mind can feel a sense of intimacy in a deep connection with nature, with abstract ideas, with infinite, or even with God. For us humans, intimacy has many faces. In intimacy, all sense of physical boundaries that separate two start to melt and two become one. You and I lose those identities and become us, one. Idea of intimacy. Progression of intimacy between two humans happens from simple exchange of words to exchange of furtive glances to tender touch to casual embraces to gentle kisses to amorous embraces to seeing naked bodies of each other for the first time, and then finally feeling the heat of love making, and again after that a restful submissive embrace. First touch. First amorous touch makes the body feel weak and excited at the same time. Gentle touch of someone else, someone we trust, someone we admire and respect for their virtues, someone who makes us feel safe, protected, and loved. That first touch says a lot more than words can describe. A simple, casual touch it could be, perhaps even for just a moment, but the mind dwells on that for eternity. Longs for that lost moment again and again. That's the magic of otherness becoming togetherness, the oneness, in emotion, in understanding, and in awareness. Playful intimacy. Playful intimacy is when two minds are engaged in silly, meaningless talks. Not everything we talk has to have meaning. The objective here is just to exchange voices, trying to understand each other's moods through voices, and not bothering if those voices make any rational sense. These two playful minds will become intimate through voices, through smiling faces, casually advancing to light bodily touches to tell other that one can be trusted completely. Reluctant intimacy. Men are rarely reluctant in intimacy. In fact, most often men make advances towards women for intimacy, and it's up to women whether to allow or refuse those advances. Most artworks here show reluctance from women. Firstly, because they are unsure if they can trust the men. Secondly, out of fear of getting caught in an act of intimacy. Intimacy, especially unwedded intimacy, back then was perceived as socially reprehensible, and hence women feared such intimacy would malign their social reputation. Hidden intimacy. A hidden intimacy is an intimacy in illicit affair. It is not out of purity of heart or love, no. This intimacy feels intense precisely because it is illicit, morally reprehensible. The heart races fast because it doesn't want to get caught, so it is always watchful not to get caught, but that racing heart adds heat to the intimacy that one feels during the act. Let's just say, humans are complex and their emotions even more so. Anxious intimacy. It is not that intimacy happens only in affectionate relationships and is always pleasurable. No. Intimacies can happen even in distressed, anxious, and even outright horrible conditions. As I mentioned earlier, complex human minds can find intimacies under any circumstances. Removing a thorn from a beloved's hand or leg can bring upon pain and anxiety on the beloved, but also brings the beloved closer emotionally, and of course physically. Lustful intimacy. One can't feel intimate without feeling the sense of at least some degree of lust. Lust will always be a part of mutual intimacy. Intimacy without lust is just platonic affection. Intimacy through raw bodily lust might not last longer, but as discussed in other videos on this channel, if one can manage to refine this lust into passion and elegance, one can enhance mutual intimacy to an unimaginable degree. Intimacy with nature. Intimacy with nature is also a form of intimacy, feeling a deep connection with someone or something alive. That is the idea of intimacy. It also doesn't mean that intimacy is always pleasurable, that pleasure is the only outcome of intimacy. Sometimes inner calm, a deep sense of peace within, can also come from intense sense of intimacy. Human mind is versatile. It can seek and feel intimacy with anything that exists outside of it. Just lying naked on the beach can be a way to be intimate with nature. A private conversation amongst friends can be intimate because it soothes and comforts our anxious minds. Sitting in grass under a tall tree by the lakeside can soothe the mind. That's intimacy. A simple gush of wind messing up your long hair. Close your eyes and feel the wind play with your hair. That's being intimate with nature, listening to Mother Nature talking her gentle, unspoken words. Intimacy with infinite. Intimacy can also be formed with ethereal. Here, the idea of intimacy is to merge one's selfhood into something bigger, something beyond comprehension, some abstract idea, some belief, some faith. Becoming nobody by submitting oneself to bigger forces, trying to comprehend those forces, and finally dissolving oneself into complete nothingness is also a form of abstract intimacy for a thoughtful mind. Finally, to sum up, intimacy is with the other, someone or something, from first touch to being reluctant to being playfully engaging in hidden, anxious or even lustful intimacy, or growing even bigger and vaster, connecting with nature and infinite. All are forms of intimacies for human mind. And thank you for your attention.